This is a special video because it's about the game that sparked the idea of Project Metroidvania. It's also a 2 games for the price of 1 kind of video. Hey, you're welcome. I've played many Metroidvanias, but not that thorough. I usually go for the main bosses and then I roll the credits. Blasphemous 1 got me hooked to explore more, and Blasphemous 2 expanded my excitement even more, making me almost 100% it. Just a quick heads up, I don't think you should see this as a review. I will not rank the games in any way. I will simply just share my thoughts on my journey. Project Metroidvania is about understanding the games and getting better at the genre. More on how you can join me on the project at the end. Let's start with the first Blasphemous game. Blasphemous 1 is about the penitent one, you, and your quest to disrupt the miracle, which is like a religion of some sort, and to break free from a cycle of death and rebirth. A lot of references goes around that it's not the first time someone is doing what you are doing. The first thing that grabs me in this game is the art style and how simplistic but also expressive everything is. Everything looks really well thought through. This made exploration feel very good going from zone to zone. Secondly, I loved the combat. Same as with the art style, the combat is quite simplistic, but I always felt that I could deal with monsters and bosses in my way. Quite a few came into the stream and mentioned that they play very different from how I play, and I've noticed the same when I watched other streamers as well. It's something I value very highly because I'm usually not a parry guy, I'm more of a movement, jumping, dodging kind of guy, so if the game forces me to parry, then I'm usually pretty screwed. The story in the first game seemed more important than the second game, so if you want to feel the world a lot, then the first game is more for you, I would say. Regarding the bosses, all bosses were challenging in their own way, but no main boss fight held me for very long. I would say the average tries was probably about 8 to 10, 13, 15, something like that, between 8 to 15 tries. A very few bosses I went above 20, and I can think of one boss where I was kind of grinding. I also loved that when I beat the main part of the game, I realized one thing, that I never found a path unlocking ability that helped me progress the main game. So in that sense, this game is less Metroidvania than I thought it would be, because I never unlocked a main area with some mechanic. So I would almost call this an open world side-scrolling soulslike instead of a Metroidvania, even though it surely has Metroidvania feeling and elements. Moving on to some things I did not enjoy as much was that I had big trouble following the narrative. My way of enjoying the story was to simply just get along for the ride, feel the atmosphere, and that was enough for me. There are so many words I don't understand, as English is not my primary language, and if I understand it correctly, this is Spanish history combined with a morbid twist of Christianity, so I was kind of doomed from the get-go to follow everything. There's a ton of items that you can go into and select lore in the menu, and then you can read more. But it's also a lot to read and quite convoluted, so if you want to grab the whole story, then it's likely you'll have to spend quite some time reading instead of slashing through enemies. It can also be a little janky in movement, climbing ladders and hitboxes versus hurtboxes. Gotta careful position yourself so you don't touch the enemies. Some seem to have hitboxes on their bodies and some not. I think you call it thorns sometimes. But yeah, basically if you go into an enemy, sometimes they would hurt you and sometimes they wouldn't. Kind of hard to see when that would happen and when it wouldn't. Last thing that probably got me the most annoyed over the entire playthrough was the animation locking and cooldown of animations, especially potions. These took forever and you could not in any way that I found cancel that animation. I understand it should probably not be instant, so you can use it whenever in a fight, but I would say please, if the HP is going to be added at the end of the animation, I would say just let me dodge out of it if I change my mind. So many times I took a potion during a boss fight and the animation locked me, so I took another hit. Apparently wrong place in the fight to even try to do it. So skill issue, I guess, but still. That's it for the first game. I loved my time with this game, despite the few gripes I had. So let's move on to the second game, Blasphemous 2. So what's different between Blasphemous 1 and 2? Pretty much everything, almost. This is an actual Metroidvania, where you will get various weapons, double jump, air dashes, keys and whatnot to access many different zones. The penitent one, you, are reborn or something, even though I think the first game was about not being reborn, to wipe house once again because apparently the miracle is having a baby. This time the story felt less in the front seat, instead putting mechanics in the front seat. This is more down my alley, but you could also feel it being less atmospheric, if that makes sense. The combat though is what makes it worth it. The weapons you get to choose from, there are 3 to begin with, they introduce exploration mechanics tied to those weapons and they are really fun. They are also introducing more platforming elements. I only fought with the regular sword though, because the other 2 never really clicked to me combat-wise. The map is better, controlling the character feels better, the cutscenes are very pretty and short enough to not interrupt the gameplay. To me, this game was such a banger. I did not even realize that I had about 80% of the game done before going to the last boss. So after going through the DLC, I ended on 96 or something. With a shift towards mechanic instead of atmosphere, comes a few drawbacks though. First of all, quest markers and map pointers are for the main quest. I'm not really sure about this. Yes, it's convenient, but for me it changes how I progress the game in such a drastic way. I'm no longer exploring and stumbling upon progress in the same degree. I am either dancing around the main story marker on the map, so to make sure that I explore everything around it first, or I just follow the marker and skip the exploration. I did the latter most, which led me to find a boss that absolutely stomped me for 3 hours straight, and then I finally killed it. I felt like I had to explore a lot to catch up on the power and health I was missing. Sure, if the main objective are not shown on the map, then potentially you would find hard bosses without any upgrades between them, but I believe in general that it would make us explore more and find more stuff because we don't have any hints. That's at least how I view it. Regarding the bosses, these were awesome, but not very hard either. Kinda like the first game regarding the main story bosses in the first game, except a few that just seemed very designed to punish my playstyle more than anything. Visually they were very cool, similar to the first game they are very simplistic. No boss was over the top crazy looking, which I really enjoyed. It seemed like it was all very grounded. I also think the enemy design was a little lazy sometimes. They were either annoying and not interesting, so I remember just running past a lot of the monsters. It stopped being exciting to kill them, both because I did not need any money from them, but also it was more of a hassle than enjoyment to kill them. I feel like the goal here would be that it's so fun to grind the monsters that you kill the rooms every time you pass through them. Maybe that's utopia, but who knows. To end things off, I do absolutely see myself going back to play more of these games, both to see more side content of the first game, but also 100% the second game. So sit tight for that, whenever that happens. If you want to join me on the project Metroidvania, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, follow me on Twitch and join my Discord channel. That way we can play these games together, compare and nerd out over the details they bring to the table. Thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you around. Bye!